Hi everyone, it's Lisa. Thank you for joining me today. In today's video, I'm going to be making 2 cards using the Stamps of Life club set for the month of March called Flowers to Layer. And you see that here on the left side of the screen. Several flowers and some leaves and some sentiments thinking of you. Happy birthday, you mean the world to me, and my friend. And then the stamp set that's on the right hand side is called Extras for Flowers to Layer. And this is just an add-on set that has a few solid stamps that you can use as fills for the stamps on the left for your club set. So if you didn't want to do any coloring for your flowers, it has some stamps that you can use to stamp in some colored ink, and then you can stamp it on the outline image. There are also some other fun stamps in here that look like little blobs that you can use for accents on your cards, and I'm going to demonstrate all of these for you. So before I get started with these card tutorials, if you're not already a subscriber, go ahead and click on that subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications so that you'll be notified every time I release a new video. So let's go ahead and get started. So here I'm stamping out the large flower stamp from the Flowers to Layer set, and I'm just stamping this on some regular white cardstock several times because I want to show you some different effects here on how we can add some fills. So here I'm taking the solid stamp from the Extras for Flowers to Layer. Notice that I stamped it, or I inked it up in some of the lightest pink ink. That's the bubblegum ink from the Stamps of Life. And it puts a really pretty pink fill in, so you don't have to do any coloring. And you can leave it just like that and use that flower on a card. Obviously you'd want to fill in the center, but that's just an example. So here I'm moving on to the second and third flowers, and again just stamping it out with the bubblegum ink, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to use a different stamp, and I'm going to ink it up with the candy ink, which is the medium shade of pink. And notice that it actually puts a nice layer of ink on that stamp in a different shade of pink. So you can achieve a shading look without having to pull out any markers and do any coloring just by using these stamps. And then notice I took the darkest ink, the guava, which is that dark pink, for the center of the third flower. So here I'm just going to come in with a different color because I just want you to see how you can just change up the colors. So this is the lemonade ink from the Stamps of Life, which is the lightest yellow. I'm also going to be using the sunshine ink, which is the medium shade of yellow, and then I'm going to use the banana ink for the center. Now you don't have to just use colors in one color family. You can actually use colors in different color families, and I'm going to show you that as well here soon. But here you can see how for this first pink flower I just went ahead and just put a yellow center on it, and that looks really pretty as well. So I'm going to continue and go through and do some of these other flowers. So here I stamped up, I don't know why I skipped that one there on the left, but I'm going to go ahead and stamp up this flower in the lemonade. Now I'm going to come in with guava, and I'm going to stamp out the guava, and look how pretty that looks. So it's a pop of a darker pink. I think that looks really pretty. And now I'm going to come in with the blueberry and another one of these little stamps and just fill in the center there with the blueberry ink. So here I'm coming in on this flower with the lemonade ink, again the lightest shade of yellow. And then I'm going to come in with the tangerine for the center. So you can do, 3 layers, you can do 2 layers, however you want to do that. But I just think this is such a fun way of just coloring up these stamps without having to use markers, because I know several of us struggle with coloring with markers, so this is just an easy way to get some coloring down. So here I'm adding tangerine to the center, but then I'm going to come back in with the candy and use the larger stamp on the larger shading portion of that flower. And then I just come back in with the tangerine and just color that up. I don't know why I did that in that order, but okay, so here's one of the smaller flowers. I just want to show you this one. So I stamped that out with my black ink, come in with the fill. So this flower does have a fill as well. So I'm just inking that up with the tangerine ink. So coloring that in. And it does have a stamp for the center, which I'm filling with the banana ink. So again, all of these fill stamps, they are with the Extras for Flowers to Layer. So if you want these fills, you're going to have to get that add-on set. So here I'm just adding some of these leaves. Obviously that second leaf did not come out as close to as I wanted to that flower, but I just wanted to show you that I have the outline stamp. I stamped in a darker green, which was the artichoke, and then the fill for those I stamped out. I think it was the kiwi ink that I used. So you also have these flowers here. These look like, it just looks like a tulip with some leaves on a stem, and there's a couple of those. There are no fills for those, so you'd have to use your markers to color those up. And then you have some of the other leaves and some smaller flowers, which again, those are part of your club set, Flowers to Layer, and you just have to color those up with your marker because there's no fills for those. So some leaves in different directions. So there are some other stamps in the extras set, so I wanted just to quickly show you these. So it kind of looks like a brush stroke, and there's a larger one that you see here, and then there's a smaller one that I stamped out in the strawberry. So you can use those as just doing some other decorations on your cards. Now this stamp right here that I'm about to stamp, that is the one that I used for the flower, and as well as this particular one, the smaller splatter. So you can use those splatter stamps, the last two, as doing a fun background like this for a card, or you can also use them as I showed you to fill in your flower previously. So here I'm going to get started with card 1. So I'm using my blueberry ink and just stamping out 2 flowers to get the outline in the blueberry. And then I'm going to bring in my lemonade ink, and I'm going to fill the entire flower with the lemonade, and I'm going to do that for both of these flowers. So again, instead of just doing the outline in black like I did in my example at the beginning of this video, my outline is now in the blueberry, which is, I think, really pretty. I think these colors will go really nicely together. So here I'm taking this splatter stamp, the larger one, and I'm just inking that up in guava, stamping out in the middle. I'm going with some bolder colors. I was doing a couple of these examples and I showed my daughter and I said, which one do you like the best? She really liked this one, so this was the one I was going with. So here I inked up the smaller splatter in the blueberry ink, and now I'm just going to use the shadow die and I'm going to die cut these flowers out. Now I'm going to do some leaves. So I have my artichoke, which is the darker green, just stamping out a few leaves. I really don't know how many I'm going to use, but I stamp out 5. And then I'm taking the fill stamp from the extra set and putting a lighter green, which is, this is the kiwi ink fill, to fill up these leaves. And then I'm going to take the dies and I'm going to die cut those out as well. So my card base is going to be out of the guava cardstock. That is an A2 size card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I have a piece of lemonade cardstock that I cut to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and I'm layering on that blue-white pattern paper that measures 4 by 5 1/4. So the pattern paper is layered onto the lemonade cardstock, and then that entire layer will be layered onto the guava card base. And then I die cut a eyelet scalloped circle out of guava, as well as a stitch circle out of white, and I did add the Thinking of You stamp, and then I added My Friend directly underneath that. Those are 2 separate stamps, but I figured they both would look nice on this card. And then I'm going to add my flowers. So here I'm just kind of trying to figure out where I want to put them and where I want to put the leaves. I think that was probably the hardest part for this card, is just deciding where those leaves are going to go. So now I'm just going to go ahead and start adding all of these elements to the front of this card. So I just add glue to the back of the eyelet scallop circle, add that to the top center, and then I will add all of those flowers with the leaves. So after I add the flowers, I'm going to bring in some epoxy dots. I add 3 epoxy dots. They're almost like a silver epoxy dot, and then I just bring in my Spectrum Sparkle clear overlay marker to add some glitter to these flowers. And that completes this card. So for my second card, I am going to be using some of the brush stroke stamps, and I'm going to be just creating a very simple card with these brushstroke stamps. So I have a piece of white cardstock here that measures 4 by 5 1/4. I'm just using various color inks for the brushstrokes. Guava, Pool, Sunshine, and Green Apple are the colors that I chose. And I'm making sure that I clean off that stamp before I go to the next color. Otherwise, I'm going to spread ink on the other colors, and I don't want to do that. So I stamp out the sunshine, and then I don't know what happened to the video. I think it wasn't recording, but I end up stamping the green apple above the sunshine, and it doesn't show that on the video. And I also stamped out the words happy birthday in the same color inks next to the brush strokes that they correspond to. So again, I'm sorry that that did not show on the video. But then I just layer that onto a piece of black cardstock that measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and then layer that onto an A2 size card base in white. So here are the 2 cards that I created using the Flowers to Layer and the Extras for Flowers to Layer sets from the Stamps of Life. If you like this video, give me a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more card making tutorials. Thanks for watching and have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.